Hey guys, it's Miss Leone here, and today I'm going to show you the basics of drawing one-point perspective. So this assignment has two parts. The first one, we are going to be drawing cubes and rectangular prisms, going to a vanishing point on different eye levels, and the second part is we're going to be taking our names and drawing them in one-point perspective as well. So let's begin. So for this, you need a ruler, an eraser, and a well-sharpened pencil, as well as a piece of paper. All right, so let's start. So the first step is we are going to establish a horizon line. So let's do that. I'm going to put my horizon line right about here. Okay. Make sure your pencil's sharp because you're really going to need it when we're connecting all of our aspects here. All right, and then I'm going to put a vanishing point right around here. So the vanishing point, so we have in basics of one-point perspective, we have a horizon line and we have a vanishing point, and then that's where all the edges of the side of our shapes are going to become forms and connect with that. So the first step is we're going to draw a square. Remember, a square is even on both sides, so we're going to do that. And then, secondly now, we're going to take our ruler. You don't have to use the measuring size, we just need a straight edge, and we're going to be connecting the corner of our shape to the actual vanishing point. So it's not going to be like this, it's not going to be over here. You have to make sure and pay attention that the edges of the shapes are indeed lining up. So we're going to do that. We're going to draw, these are called convergence lines because they are converging to this vanishing point, and it means that things are getting smaller. So the second one, I'm going to take this second edge. Make sure your pencil's sharp or it's just not going to line up correctly. All right, like that. And then the third edge. So we want to make sure everything is lining up with this vanishing point. All right, next we're going to draw another shape. Let's draw one above. It can be a rectangle, it can be a square, whatever you want. All right, so it's going to be like that. So here we're seeing the top of it because it is below eye level being the horizon line, so we're going to see the top of it. Up here, this is going to be above eye level, so we are seeing the bottom of it. So we are taking our ruler or our straight edge and we're lining up the very corner of the shape and bringing it down to the convergence line. Okay, like that. And we're going to do it again with the second corner of our shape, and then again with the final one. And we can see there, boom, they are lining up. Okay, so let's get another one there. This one I'm going to make it a rectangle. Let's do a rectangle this time. It can be a square, whatever you would like, it's up to you. So here I drew my square, I had a little extra, little something there, little line, so I'm just going to erase that. All right, so here, again, lining up my ruler, the edge of my shape, to the same vanishing point. Everything is going to the same vanishing point, lining that up, and I'm just going to, see, there it goes. I'm just going to slide my ruler down, keeping the one edge at the vanishing point and the other edge at the corner of the next side of the shape, like so. And then down here, same thing, lining it up, okay. And let's say we wanted to make one on eye level. So now we have two below eye level, so we see the top. We have one above eye level, we see the bottom. And now we're going to do one on eye level just so we can see the difference. So for eye level, you are not going to see the top or the bottom, only the side. So let's do that. So here we only have two edges that are going to be meeting the vanishing point. So just make sure that your pencil is sharp or it's not going to line up correctly. Okay, making sure, oh, right there, lining up with my vanishing point, boom. All right, so now that we've done that, we're going to make our edges. So we just want to make sure that now these edges are going to be completely vertical or horizontal, not diagonal like the convergence lines. So I'm going to make mine about this big, vertical line here. I'm stopping at that convergence line, and then here I'm just going to make it start where that line the vertical line ended, I'm going to be doing my horizontal line. I have to kind of stand up here so I can see it better. So make sure that you can actually see where it's lining up. Same thing here. Maybe this one I want to be a little longer. So depending on the depth that you want your shape, how wide, how long, you make a horizontal and then a vertical in whatever order you wish. Okay, so you can see that now it's starting to come together. They're actually looking like forms. Maybe this one, I want to be a little in between, not too long, not too short. But again, I just want to make sure that it's horizontal here. And then where that ends, I'm just going to do the vertical one where the horizontal ended. Okay. And then here, for the one at eye level, I'm just doing one. So we can see here. So now we have eye level, you don't see the top or the bottom. Below eye level, you see the tops. Above eye level, you see the bottom. And then all you have to do here is we're going to be erasing any lines. So for the at eye level, we're erasing those lines that are there. And then if you erase too much, you just redraw. Just crisp up those lines. And I'm going to go in here. So when I'm erasing, I'm really grabbing my paper, because if you don't, it's going to be like you're trying to erase, it's moving around all crazy. So I'm doing that, and then I'm going to go up here. I am leaving my horizon line though, so I'm just erasing my convergence lines at this point. Okay, same thing here. Erasing those convergence lines. So this is where having like a chunky eraser is really going to help you, because a little pencil, you're going to eat away at the eraser so fast on the eraser of a pencil. So if you do that, you may run out and you're going to need a backup eraser. All right, and that's it. And we can see here, now we have 4 forms that are converging in 1 point perspective to a vanishing point. And this is part 1. All right, so now for part 2, so that's part 1. So now for part 2, we are actually going to be drawing our names for this one, and we're going to be making our names go to the vanishing point. So I'm going to use my last name. So we're going to start with block letters. So if you know how to make block letters, you can skip the step I'm about to show you. If you don't, you're going to follow along. So I'm going to do this very light because I am going to end up erasing these original lines. So I'm going to put either you're going to start above on the upper part of the paper or the lower part of the paper. It's up to you. I'm going to start at the lower. So I'm just going to very lightly sketch out my name, L, E, O, N, and I'm going to do my best to make them like the same size, give or take, to the best of my ability. Okay, so we have, you know, if you want to use a nickname, 4 letters is more than enough. Don't do 2. I would do at least, you know, unless your nickname is 3 letters, but I would say 3 to 4 letters. So to start a block letter, if you don't know how to do it, you write your name out in lines, and then you're just going to go around and trace them. So at this point, these are going to be a little darker. Okay, L. So we want to try to make them like the same height to the best of your ability. Okay. Now my O, I'm going to put a line in the center, and I'm going to put a line around it. Oh, this one ended up a little taller. It is what it is. There's no turning back right now. And my N, I'm just tracing, and you can see at the top of my N where it's a point, I kind of made it horizontal there, flattened it out. I'm going to do the same thing down here. Alright, so now I have my block letters. So if you know how to make your name in block letters, you don't have to do all that. Just make them in block letters. And then you can go ahead and just erase the initial single line name that you drew around. If you didn't do this, then you're good to go. And you're going to follow with the next steps. So the lighter you sketch, the easier it will be to completely erase these lines. For demonstration purposes and for you seeing it on the camera, I kind of have to draw a little darker or won't pick up. But make those as light as you can so you can see them. Alright, so now I have my name here. So now I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to make a vanishing point, and I'm going to put it right around here. So there's my vanishing point. All right, so we have our, I'm going to make it a little more exaggerated. It's right there. All right, guys. So now that we have our vanishing point here, we have our block letters drawn out. Now we're going to start to draw lines using a ruler from the letters to the vanishing point, and this will give the illusion of each letter being three-dimensional. So, and when you're doing this, I may draw a little darker for video recording purposes, but when you're doing them, I would draw all of your convergence lines very light, so that way you are going to be erasing most of them. All right, so let's start. I'm going to start with my N. So I'm going to, even if the angle feels a little too like awkward, it's too high up, trust the process. So I'm lining up the edge of my ruler with the vanishing point and the edge of my letter. So I'm going to be drawing my line up to there, okay? I'm just going to do that with each edge of each letter. So that's why I said just do 4 letters the most. Use your nickname, shorten your name. If you have 7 letters in your name, you do not have to draw all of them. All right? So we're going to be continuing here with each edge. And if you forget one at the end, you'll notice, because you'll notice that it's missing. All right, and then let's not forget the bottom of the letters either. So when I get to this point, I'm not going to draw it through. I'm going to stop right there. Okay? The other ones I made go directly to the vanishing point. I don't want to draw through my face of my letters because then that's just more to erase. But I know that this relationship is the edge lining up with that vanishing point. Now with the O, the rounded shapes, at first I thought were tricky, but they're actually easier than the other ones. I'm going to make one edge of the ruler line up with the vanishing point, and I'm going to figure out where my ruler lines up with the edge of my rounded shape. That is just slightly touching it without going past. We don't want it to be too far, just so it like touches the edge of this enough that it's right on the edge, and it goes right to the vanishing point. And I'm going to stop it right there. So technically I could keep drawing it, but I don't want to mess up my N, the face of my N, and you can see the relationship. It is still lining up, and the same thing with the top of my O. This I will make go. So I'm going to make sure, lining up with the vanishing point, lining up with the edge, and this I'm going to make go all the way to the vanishing point because it's not interrupting anything. All right, next. So the E, if you have an E in your name, there's a lot of corners here to line up, but we got this. So I'm going to be taking the corner of my E. Again, I'm stopping here where the O is, because I don't want to mess up the front face of my letters. That's just more to erase. Same thing, the other edge of the E, lining it up, stopping at the O. Same thing with the corner. So every little crevice, every little corner that you can, you're lining it up. I'm going to stop right there because now it's getting in the way of that edge. We have a lot of erasing to do though. So that's why the lighter you draw, the easier it will be for erasing. So I'm going to take that corner, line it up, this corner. So at first it might be confusing. It's like, what am I doing? What is the point of this? But once we make the horizontal and vertical lines for the depth and we start erasing, it will all make more sense. Okay, and then I'm going to have this edge. So E has a lot of edges here. Hopefully your name doesn't have 2 E's in it. So the ones, as long as it doesn't interfere, I'm going to make my line go to the vanishing point. And once you get really good at this, you may not have to do all these long lines. You can kind of stop, you can guesstimate. But for starting purposes, we just want to make sure that we are doing this. All right, so I have one left. I have my letter L. Here, of course, I'm not, like I said before, I'm not drawing through it. Going from the corner up, the corner, make sure, again, lining up with the vanishing point. Don't get excited and forget and then go like this, oh yeah, and then it's just going to mess up your perspective there, and you're going to have to go back and fix it. And when I look at it in the grade book, I will give you that feedback. All right, so here, this corner, up, I'm going to stop right there. I have 2 more edges. Then I'm going to start making my depth. Ooh. Oh, so what I just did there, I didn't hold my ruler good enough, steady enough, so it kind of wobbled on me. All right, I made this little mark here, it kind of wobbled, so I'll just erase that when I get to my erasing. Just be firm with your ruler as well. Notice how I'm spreading out my fingers to really be secure. Edge, convergence lines going to the vanishing point. All right, and that's it for that step. All right, so step 1, again, just to recap, if you don't know how to make block letters, I drew up my letters, single lines, and I traced them. Then I went in, I did a vanishing point, and I started making each edge of my letters go to the vanishing point. And now finally, I'm going to make the depth. So since they're all about the same height, I'm going to make all my letters the same. So I'm going to take my ruler, I'm going to hold it about here. I'm going to make my L just for the top part, the top of the E, not the slanted part, the top, the O I'm going to leave for now, and the 2 sections of the N. So you can see here, I'm starting to establish my width. So for my O, I'm going to try to make it match the curve of this, but starting at the width, like the difference here, the width of this, but like curving to match that. All right, so now that I've done the tops of them, and actually now I have to do the bottoms, so I want to try to see like how far. So this may be where I measure, this is about 1 1/4 inches. So maybe here at like 1 1/4 inches, I'm going to put a little mark there, 1 1/4 inches, 1 1/4 inches, put a little mark there. Okay, so this is so I know where so this is going to line up here. It's going to line up about here. All right, so now I'm ready for my vertical lines. So if I did this correctly, we want to make sure that they're parallel. I am starting where my horizontal line ended. That's where my vertical line is going. All right, same thing with the top of my E. So if you want to make it shallower, you don't have to make it this fat. You can make it half the distance, but this is just showing you. Here, we're not going to see that. Okay, but we might see it. So what did I say? 1 1/4 inches, 1 1.25 inches is about here. So actually here, let me add a little horizontal line for this part of my E. Okay, and here. Okay, and then where else? And then on my N. So for my N, so I want this, see how this is slanted. So if you have an A or you have a letter that a K where there's angles, so what I'm doing is I'm gently sliding over my ruler to make sure that it is parallel to the whatever diagonal shape I have. It's gonna go like that. So it's like the same. And then here, so this, because the vanishing point is right above, this is gonna be super skinny right here where this edge of the N is. And it has to do with the relationship of the vanishing point. So this edge is not going to be as fat as this because this is farther away. So the farther away it gets from the vanishing point, it gets wider. All right, so with that said, now we're ready to start erasing. All right, so then I'm going to go in, my chunky eraser again, make sure you're holding your paper firmly. All right, so I'm just doing the general parts. Now I'm going to be careful now. Once I start getting closer to the shapes, I'm going to be more careful because I don't want to erase my letters and like have to redraw. But if you erase a little piece, you can fix it. No big deal. It's all good. I'm going here. So now I'm happy that I did not draw every single convergence line going through the face of my shapes of my letters because I would be erasing extra. And then here, this little mistake I made in the beginning, and then here, let me get in there, and yeah. So because I drew dark to show you guys, it's not really erasing all the way. That's the best I can get. So this is where sketching really lightly is going to be your friend. So when you go to erase, you won't see those lines. So now at this point, we're just going to go ahead and start to darken our edges. so they're more pronounced. And this is where you're really going to start to see it coming together, because if you sketched lightly, you might be like, okay, what's going on here? And it's okay if you don't see the edge of each one. Depending on how far apart you put your letters, you might see the edge of them, you might not. Trust the process with the vanishing point. Make sure everything is lining up with the vanishing point. And even if it's weird at first, just trust the process. That's the best part. That's the thing that I love about perspective drawing. And even if you hate art and you're not the best artist, or you think you're not, you're just following right now. You're following rules. It's like math. So as long as you follow these rules, you can't go wrong here. You really can't mess this up, as long as you have, from whatever shape that you're trying to make the convergence line for, as long as it lines up with that vanishing point, just like in part 1, okay? So with that said, there we go. Now they're all bolded. It has more of a sense of being three-dimensional. And then at this point, you can just go in. It doesn't have to, you could shade it in with the side of the pencil. You could do gradation. You can use color, but let's just establish, just so we know. I'm just going to do some cross-hatching here, so I can kind of make it. And this is what's great. So I have another video that shows ways to create value using line. So that is where I showed everyone cross-hatching. So if you need to go back to that. But this is where just adding some value can really make a difference. And it really does give the illusion and a sense of realism. And it makes things have more 3-dimension. Okay? So we're not going to use a light source here. We're not really, you know, doing it perfectly like it would exist in reality. But just by doing this, kind of gives it a more 3-dimensional vibe. And that's all we want to do, is give the illusion. So on these edges, this is just for practicing purposes. And again, you can use color here. Feel free. Use whatever medium. If you want to use marker, color pencil at this point, but you should be drawing with a pencil. So here I'm going to be, I'm going to make this go all the way. I'm having this one curve a little. Okay, and then in here, all right, curve, 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 and then in here, all right, almost done. Just giving the illusion of depth here. And then here is going to be very shallow, because again, if the horizon line or the vanishing point is directly, well, this would be the horizon line. The vanishing point is up here. If it's directly above, whatever's right under it is going to be way skinnier. So that's it, guys. So this is part 2, drawing your name 3-dimensionally, and then this was part 1, starting out with our basic forms. Remember, establishing a horizon line, drawing a vanishing point, starting with a square, making all the 3 edges of the square go towards whichever direction. So if it's below the horizon line, you see the top of it, that means it's below your eye level. If it's above the horizon line, you're seeing the bottom of it, that means it's above your eye level. And if it's directly on the horizon line, it is at your eye level. You do not see the top or the bottom, you only see one side. So that's it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this, and I'll see you next time. Bye.